Welcome to another episode of Outcast Podcast. As always, we have an exciting new guest on today's show who is a member of the ESR team, Kurt Sponsler. Welcome, Kurt. Thank you for taking time to come on the podcast with us tonight. If you would, to start out with, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, like what you do for work or what your hobbies are, or just anything about you?
Sure thing. Thanks for having me on. Um, so what I do for work is I'm a network administrator, so IT. I do a lot of mostly help desk stuff, but also building and maintaining networks for several customers and do a lot of traveling for it. Um, my hobbies, I have far too many, so many that I've had to drop a few. One of which is obviously doing the sim racing with you guys and Outcast Racing League, which is a lot of fun every Sunday. Aside from that, I also one of the ones I had to put down was flight simulation, like a combat flight simulation. So I got like a 1-to-1 cockpit setup of an F-18 Hornet that I used to fly much more often, but now it's more so racing. I also play music. I'm a rhythm guitarist in a cover band. We play multitudes of covers for parties or bands called Pizza Time after the Toby Maguire meme in Spider-Man where he says pizza time. And uh, no,
I mean, all this talk about pizza is making me hungry.
that's the goal. Right on.
Oh,
Well,
we seen you eating pizza. That's all we're gonna say.
you're who, Anthony?
Yeah.
Other than that, I also do another one I had to drop was airsoft. I play airsoft with a group of buddies. We have our own field we go play at. Um, Other than that, that's kind of about it. Oh, that'd be Rise Against easily. I finally got to see them for the first time ever in my life. I've been a fan of them since I was like 12, and I went and saw them in Richmond last month, and I had the luckiest first time ever. It was in a small venue, it wasn't like a big festival venue, and I was literally like 3 feet away from the lead singer when they were playing, and I felt like a giddy schoolgirl.
Hey, ain't nothing wrong with that. So what genre is that, like, of music?
I'd say that's more on the side of punk rock. Rock's pretty much my favorite. Punk, metal, screamo, even new metal. Um, yeah, just definitely in the rock genre is what I enjoy.
Wheat.
Yeah, essentially. I mainly discovered that I enjoyed video editing when I was in high school. It was my senior year of high school. We had a class called TV production where we basically made like morning announcements, but they also let us get away with making skits that were kind of absurd and not appropriate, not terribly inappropriate, but like in a school setting, not very appropriate. And my buddy Cody, he would sit down with me and we used to use Mac computers to do all this video editing and he'd go, no, 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 that cutaway doesn't look very good. Check this out. And he'd like show me all kinds of cool stuff and I got a little hooked on it. So when I started doing it again, I was originally doing it because in my flight simulator is called DCS. It has a lot of camera manipulation and the graphics are insanely realistic looking. So I started doing like filmography, like cinema versions of these videos, and I even clipped together like a short film. There was one that I was working on that is another one I essentially that unfortunately had to put down. Called I called it Warriors of the Skies, where two F-14 Tomcats from like Top Gun go in and do combat with two MiGs, and It's absolutely not finished yet, but I went so far as to getting AI software for voices so that I didn't have to hire my friends to do the voices, not to mention they'll even admit they're not good at voice acting. So I could literally clone their voice and just I could type it up and I can manipulate the inflection and all that and make them talk. And but that's where it started. And then from there I just started making goofy videos and clever, like really neat videos. And then when I was finally approached about making a promo for ORL, I was like, oh yes, I absolutely want to do that because I was gonna do it anyway, whether or not I was asked. I was gonna start throwing stuff together and go, what do you think? Does this look cool? Because I've been wanting to do it ever since
Well,
I
the
technically.
promo videos are absolutely sick. I mean, they're awesome. We love playing them on the podcast. And then your friend Midland Struggler did the music videos. Do you collab with him on other music stuff or?
Yeah, so in that cover band, he's my lead guitarist, and he also kind of instructs most of us because I'd say me and our drummer are, I mean, we're good in our own right, but in contrast to Paul, Midland Struggler, and our bassist Steven, um, we're real amateur. So and he's gone to college for like music and stuff like that, and then um, he knows what he's doing. Every time we go in, he's plugging us up, he's setting us up, and he's making sure everything sounds good and no feedback. And he's insanely smart. I call him the doctor all the time. He's really good with music, and yeah, he wrote the whole soundtrack for Outcast Racing League, and that one soundtrack. And he has an album. He has another one in the works that he's hoping to have out by next year, and he might even release the Outcast Racing League promo music on Spotify as well.
It's definitely a dynamic duo. If you have a person that knows how to make music and beats and different sounds, and then you got somebody that knows how to do the videography side of it, that combo is kind of untouchable, just
Oh
like we
yeah.
see in the promo videos for sure. Um, I I dabble with Premiere Pro, and I can do odds and ends, but there's so much you can do with that stuff if you know what you're doing. I just don't. I'd like to learn. I would love to be better at it for sure. But so let's get into some NASCAR stuff. So, how did you get into NASCAR or maybe dirt racing or really any kind of racing?
So it all stems way back in the beginning when me and John were kids. Um, our uncle did like a small short track racing on like, wouldn't say street stock, but like late model cars. The last thing he did was modifieds, and we were essentially born in that, me and John, and we'd go to the track all the time. In fact, anytime I smell auto equipment like oil or any kind of racing equipment, I fall in love because I prefer that over a sweet smelling aroma. Every time I went into the garage, my uncle and our grandfather were working on the race car. We'd just sit in the car while they were working on it, and I could sit there for hours.
I see you cheesing up there, Anthony. You're in love. See- so you're saying Kurt wears fuel instead of cologne.
It wouldn't be wrong of her, I'll say that. Yeah.
Who's your favorite driver? Is it and it don't have to be like a NASCAR driver, just driver in general.
So I'll say one of my favorite drivers was Tommy Milner. I followed him when we had the American Le Mans series going on. Um, back when I first started following him, he drove for Rahal Letterman in the BMW M3 GTR. and then he went on to the Corvette, and then eventually the American Le Mans series died, and that's not a thing. It's only overseas. But I also I tried to, well, I kind of sort of met him, but can't really say I did. I went to the first and only Baltimore Grand Prix, and that in one weekend was the American Le Mans series and IndyCar. And it was so unsecure. And what I mean by that is where they had the pit lanes was at the wide open back doors of these restaurants that were just like dead next to each other. You walk in to order food, right outside was somebody's pit lane, and they let you just walk out there after a
Did
time.
they sell pizza?
And this place, it was, I want to say it was like a taco place, but we only went in there because I saw they had a driver in there, or actually, they had several drivers in there, and you can go up and talk to them because they were just chilling inside. And Tommy Milner was one of them. I was like, Tommy, Tommy. And he just like waved at me, and that was it. And then he walked out, and I was like, oh, he waved at me.
Made your day.
Yeah. So iRacing became a thing, um, I want to say around 2018. That same friend of mine, Paul, Midland Struggler, who made the song, his dad was doing iRacing, and he had a crazy setup. He had like still has it. It's a Fanatec, mostly Fanatec setup, really nice seat, and he does VR mostly. And we used to tease him a little bit because we'd be sitting down in the basement hanging out, and you just hear him yell "tear off," and we had no idea what that meant at the time, but we thought it was funny. We would just yell it too. We'd go "tear off," even though we probably shouldn't have. But obviously he was getting the windshield tear off going from a voice command. And well, I wanted to do that, and then because Project Cars at the time was just, there was no such thing as a good driver, so I got a subscription. And actually, if you try to look it up now, it's under an old name. It's Kurt Sponsler Jr. But you can't even pull up my accolades for that. Like, it's as if it was made and never used. Otherwise, I would have signed into that account, but it won't let me. Um, but yeah, that started primarily because a flight sim friend of mine, he had he was doing racing as well. He invited me to join a team. It wasn't a league. They just kind of went into these official races, or they set things up with other teams, and they do like road racing mainly, which was my thing. We ran Porsche 911s, and it was four of us. One guy was military, had to go on deployment. And after he went on deployment, the two remaining members, and if they ever watch this, they'll know who they are, were just absolute douchebags. Uh, did not play nice. Like, they did not want me driving with them. They thought I was terrible, which I honest to God, I wasn't. I just maybe wasn't as fast as one or two of them, but I wasn't bad. And long story short, what made me just want to stop doing sim racing for the longest time uh, was we were getting ready for, I think it was a 6 hour race at Sonoma. That's what it was, and still in the GT3s. And I couldn't post the lap time they wanted. And I was told, if you do not get below this, I don't remember what it was, they're like, I'm kicking you right now. I didn't even finish my lap. Suddenly it just said I was removed.
Wow.
And they kicked me from the Discord. And I was like, I don't want to do this again. And the only reason I ever came back was because John told me about you guys, and he was like, "This great group of guys will never do that to you." He's like, "I know you're not all that into NASCAR right now, but I know you love it." And he wasn't wrong. I do love it. You guys are leaps and bounds better than the dudes I dealt with before, and even when we, you know, get a little heated at the end of the day, I think we come back just fine, just like a family would. You know,
Yeah,
and
I agree. I agree 100%. So I kind of got a two-part question here.
okay,
And it kind of stems from earlier where you got a dang pilot simulator. But What kind of setup do you have for iRacing? iRacing. There's my messed up word, Anthony. I've been doing good and I screwed it up. But what kind of setup do you have for iRacing? Is it like a hook to a desk, you got a full rig or whatever? And then the second part to that question, which rig would you have more money in, your airplane rig or your racing rig?
So the setup I have for racing is I just a few months ago got the Moza R5, and that's on like a full setup seat rig, the FGT. And then I have three 32 curved monitors in front of me. And I actually just recently got a PC specifically for the racing because I actually used to carry my one and only PC up and downstairs so I could either race or do regular gaming. And the flight sim arguably has the most money in it. Um, that is so many panels, buttons, switches, throttle, stick, rudder pedals. I have to use VR for that right now, but over time, when I do get back into building it, it's going to evolve and it's going to get even more expensive. Like I plan to have a curved projection screen for the flight because I like VR for what it can offer, but I kind of like not having to put that on my head to do anything, and that's why I have the triples for racing. And once I can afford to get a projector screen and a projector, I'm definitely going to do that for the flight.
That's awesome. That was kind of yeah, that's wild. Yeah, it's kind of it was the other part of it, Do you have any modifications you're planning on doing? But I think you covered that pretty well.
And there's still a lot more to go. Like I don't even have everything. I have pretty much most of from my left side up to the front, and then nothing to the right side. I'm missing everything to the right and a couple like the HUD. I'm missing that, and otherwise I have everything else. And I have a buddy of mine that's helping me like finish the frame because it's not just going to be a seat and panels. It's going to be the whole enclosure with the outside of the plane and everything. It's literally just
Yeah,
going to be missing the nose and the whole back of the plane. Otherwise, I got the replica ejection seat built and everything.
that's freaking awesome.
Yeah, with rockets, it works.
That's always the wonder. So, I can't tell. So with ORL being big into teams, how does that help you as a driver?
I mean, I would say it gives you camaraderie inside and outside of teams. And what I mean by that is with ESR, I mean, and this should be with any team, is we're always looking to help each other improve. It's never about the glory of one or shoot, hardly even the glory of the whole team. I mean, it'll boil down to that, but it's always about it's never about help me get to the front or make sure I'm the one getting to the front. It's always, hey, you got a good run. Um, we'll get you, we'll keep you safe, or we'll and coach you through it. And then even outside teams, and what I mean by that is like people you just drive good with that aren't even on your team, and you'll just kind of help them. Like I said, it's a great camaraderie. If
So you said you got the guys that you really like to ride with. Do you have any rivals?
ooh, rivals, rivals, I would say yes, but not out of anger and frustration, more of challenge and driving beside. I'd say probably the one that comes up the most is Gary Wright. And it's because we tend to find ourselves going door to door around turns a lot. And there was a time in the past, actually, the first time I ever had contact with him was it got me heated. He essentially turned me at Richmond, and um, I was mad after that. But then after race review, it was like, oh, he was on worn tires and he kind of came up into me. But even after that, over time, I tend to he tends to come up around me and we end up racing each other a lot. I'd say Actually, let me go ahead and say Johnny's one of my rivals too. But out of
I
pure,
knew that one was coming. I knew it.
even when he was in ESR, we were driving against each other sometimes, and not too hard though, because we didn't want to screw each other over. But now that he's on Quantum and I'm still in ESR, every time I see his Quantum car, I'm gunning for him. Like, oh, it's on now. I don't even care what's going on around me. Like, I'm racing John, and he feels the same way. I know he does.
Do you feel this season that you've had better finishes than your brother?
No. I think most of the time he's finished ahead of me and had better lap times than me. But to his benefit, he's always been more oval oriented, and I've been more road course. He knows when he takes me on a road course, he can't touch me. I'm gone, and that was definitely evident at Indy road course.
And it sounds like he wouldn't stand a chance in an airplane either.
Oh no, no, I don't think so.
Oh boy. Oh boy, they're back to back. 5 points? Is that what it is? That's kind of close. Only 5 points difference. Rutro. Hey, you got a chance that you could take that rival. You could beat that rival. Anything can happen at Darlington.
You're not kidding. And Darlington wasn't one of my best tracks. I had to practice it recently to kind of figure it out because I definitely did not have it figured out last season.
It's definitely not one of my favorite tracks either. Oh boy.
With my own.
Is that going to change your strategy going into this race?
Probably not, only because I'm going to drive my best drive. But I will say, and John knows it, that if I come up on him or he comes up on me, it's a race. And we're going to have fun with it, though. We have fun with it every time. I don't think anytime we've gotten into each other, we've ever messaged each other or called each other and said, "What was that?" It was more like, "That was fun. That was fun." That's
Yeah, that's
right.
right. A little bit of rubbing is definitely racing. It's a you got to have it.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And your team, y'all are leading in the points right now. You know that's a big thing as well. I'm sure y'all strategize for that, and that's a big part. I know for us on Poor Boy, you know that's we want like team championships. The team aspect is what we really like. Um, so that's got to feel good going into this race, the cutoff race.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and like I was saying earlier, it's I guess at least for ESR, it is mostly team. Like to hell with one man championships. Like we're all about getting all of us up there, and I'd say that's evident by where we're at in the standings right now. And sometimes we even got to strategize on the fly. At one point, you'll think Cam's ahead, and Cam's got it all figured out, and then something will happen, and now Al's up front, and we're all making sure Al stays up front, and we're going by Al's decisions, and yeah, very technical sometimes.
Yeah, and that's what I like about the team aspect of the league. It's it's more than just you driving. It's a team effort, team strategy, whether it be the last race before the points cut off and, maybe you're good on points, but your teammate's not. So how can you go out there and help? Like, I don't know. It's awesome. I love it. Full length. So, Kurt, tell us something about you that we don't know. Got to be something.
Something you guys don't know.
And it could be anything. It could be a hobby, it could be um, whatever.
Those are Digimon models. So I throw
Digimons.
those together like they're actual snap models. And they're figurines. You literally just put them together and pose them. Um, oh, I was both.
I don't, I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah, I got into both of them. I guess something. mm, I am pretty big into anime, and I can speak some Japanese. I don't know if that's something you guys already knew.
Let's hear it. Let's hear something. Yeah, tell us what you're gonna say first.
So something real basic like "Hi, how are you? My name's Kurt. I'm from America." Would be something like "Konnichiwa. Kyou wa genki desu ka? Onamae wa Kato desu. America Jin desu."
I feel like I was watching a movie right there. That was good.
So self-taught. I use me and my wife both were learning it. She's better at reading it. I guess I'm better at speaking it. Um, but yeah, it's mostly self-taught. We've purchased programs where we've learned, and we use Duolingo. We've written what we're trying to learn, and we used to regurgitate it to each other. We used to try to speak to each other. That's kind of fallen off. It kind of seemed a little too cheesy.
Are you like an assassin behind the screen because there's all these hidden talents? I mean, you speak foreign language, you play musical instruments, and you also do videography. Are you like a hitman or an assassin behind the screen that we just don't know about?
If I tell you, I'd have to kill you.
I did. I knew that was coming too. I knew it.
Yeah, ultimately, the answer he gave you is the one I didn't want to give you because it was the most irritating, in my opinion. I hate reinstalling an operating system because it's never as straightforward as Windows will tell you. As sometimes it just gets aggravating, and I didn't want to put you through that, nor be the one to recommend you to go through that. So I'm glad Al took one for the IT team and recommended you reinstall the OS for that one. Okay, I gotcha. I could have sworn he said something before.
So go ahead, Anthony. Do you got any shout outs or anything you want to throw out there on the podcast?
Oh, absolutely. First, shout out to you guys for putting this on and always, I mean, having the podcast up. I think that's pretty awesome. an awesome implementation of the league, as well as a shout out to Peacemaker for broadcasting the races. Shout out to the ESR team, Al, Cam, and Rob. Um, special shout out to Midland Struggler for making the music, and to my wife, my daughter, and my friends and family who watch the broadcast at home.
Sweet.
Yeah, I've actually worn the ESR one I got several times, and the only reason why it's not on now is because it stinks. So I'm wearing the
That
NOS one.
that is a good reason not to wear it.
I am. It's just I have a ton of them. I have my own Discord channel that's just so my friends can like watch the broadcast, and like my bandmates, we can talk music on there and stuff. Um, I have a thing where every week everyone who watches votes on a car scheme that I run, and whatever I'm running is what everyone voted for the most. And it actually got to a point where I was like, I don't think I've run my NOS scheme one time. So I told everyone I'm running NOS Energy at a Indy road course.
Hmm, hmm.
So last season I ran Cold Trickle's City Chevrolet, and I'm feeling a little pressure to run it again because Cam worked on that for me, and he says he put his blood, sweat, and tears into that.
Mm,
However, there's another one waiting in the wings, depending on when it gets done. That I'm not going to say what it is because it's going to be ran. Whether it's at Darlington or at another race is up for debate, but it might be this Sunday at Darlington.
that's awesome. I didn't even I didn't even think about that. I just had Al help me because you remember the one race I had the white paint scheme, my paint wasn't working, and he worked on my paint. He fixed my paint, which was actually an old paint he did that by far my favorite. You can't see it, but I have a die cast even made in that paint job. Um, I'm kind of scared to change my paint. Yeah, but I didn't even really think about that. But I'm glad we brought that up because I forgot about it. Throw it back.
No, I'm
Any
gonna keep being the quiet
a-
guy, I
any
guess.
words of wisdom for your brother?
Uh, hmm. Get out of the way.
Who's older, you or him?
He is by 3 years. I will say, when it comes to racing, he and I have always been competitive spirits ever since we were kids, from literally racing our big wheels to Gran Turismo, Need for Speed, Forza, Project Cars, and all the way up to iRacing now. No, although I have extended an invitation to him a few times, and I think it's primarily he's also IT, but he's like government IT, so he is constantly busy, and he might join us next season, but he's definitely considering it. He has seen the broadcasts, and he knows what goes on. So, and he's not a bad driver. I would say if he got on the track, he would absolutely whoop me. He has whooped me before in the past. Another fast guy.
Well, I guess with that, I would like to thank our sponsors, Williamsburg Contract. And Shinko Custom Diecast is do what?
Yeah, you cut out there a little bit.
Well, let me start over again then. That they did I do it again?
All right, great. Thanks for
Later.
having me on, guys. Later.